Hey, if you're thinking, I barely have time to write, let alone start a podcast, I got you. My Start Your Author podcast checklist helps busy writers like you start a podcast without sacrificing your writing time. No more guessing or Googling. Starting is actually the easiest part of podcasting, and with this step-by-step checklist, you can fit it in over the next 6 weeks or even next weekend. Stop letting uncertainty hold you back. Grab your free checklist at the link below and get on your way to serving your target readers today. Are you preparing to pitch your book idea to a publisher or literary agent at a writing conference? Maybe you already have an appointment set and you're starting to get anxious about making the most of your 15-minute appointment. Or is it stressing you out to think, what are publishers going to think when they look at my book proposal to decide if my book is the next best idea for them to publish? Well, who better to ask these questions than Barb Roose, publishing agent at Books and Such, and a nonfiction author of 8+ books and Bible studies herself. Barb knows her stuff. So today's episode is actually part of a longer conversation I had with Barb on episode 18, and I'll be sure to link that in the show notes. Today, you're going to hear how to show a publisher that you're already connecting with your target readers who will buy your book one day, and how to ease your anxiety before sitting down with the publisher or agent to pitch your book idea. You're in for a treat today, so we're going to jump right into what Barb has to share.
Well, I'm going to very quickly walk through 4 elements. Now, there are actually more elements than that, but just so that we can keep it clean and quick. The very first thing, I call it a wow concept. So it is the actual idea. If you're a nonfiction author, you need to have a unique selling proposition. Your book should have a message that, again, unique and universal. So that's the very first thing of the wow concept. The second is that you have a target audience. Who is the specific audience that you're writing for, and to be able to articulate that. For me, the third is great comparables. And the reason why you want to have great comparables is so that an editor or an agent, we want to know where your book is positioned. There are millions of books in every single category. So we need to know, okay, where do you see your book fitting into the market? And what are the strengths of your book as compared to what's already out there? Just to know that there's a place for it. And then the next part is what I'll call the preview. If you're a nonfiction writer, that's going to be your chapter summaries. This gives us this preview into what your writing style is like, how you connect with an audience. Are your chapter summaries going to help me understand the journey that you want to take the reader on and pique my interest with how you can actually help someone in a practical way? So those 4 features, again, is the wow concept. It is the target audience. It's having great comparables, and then a solid preview. Now, when someone is looking at a proposal template, there are other aspects to a proposal, but I'm breaking down the top 4 features that we're going to be looking at as agents, as well. Those are the elements that inquiring editor is going to ask me about.
And so do they, whenever you're first approaching a publisher with an author, do they ask about the marketing plan?
They do ask about the marketing plan, but those other features are going to be what opens the door to ask about the marketing plan. So when it comes to the marketing plan, if we take that as the next step, a few things that I want to see as an agent in a marketing plan is I'm going to be looking for that mailing list. Is there one established? The second is there a website? I am still amazed at the number of people who have outdated websites. So that very first piece is making sure you do have a social media presence and a mailing list. We want your website. We want your social media. We want it to be populated on a regular basis with the content that's going to captivate your target audience. And then another part of the marketing piece is I'm going to be looking and asking about a speaking platform because that is one of the primary drivers outside of mailing lists to selling books. So nonfiction authors, if you want to write either in Christian living or academia, discipleship, you're going to be asked whether or not you've got a speaking platform.
I love how all that, like you talked about there, you've got these 4 elements that you're going to come to the table with as an author. If you've got an updated website and you're putting out content and you're speaking and you're building your email list, all those things are kind of building into helping you hone in on that concept, right? Your unique and universal pieces because you've been writing about them and you've been seeing people interact with them and joining your email list.
And let me, for a moment, cast a greater vision because I suspect there's somebody who's out there right now who is like, whoo, that's an overwhelming amount of stuff, Barb, you're asking us to do. And so I want you to just take a moment and take a deep breath if you're listening. Because if you are taking in for the first time or you are just in the early part of the journey, it can feel overwhelming. So we're not saying that you have to do all of these things at once.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the primary reasons that a literary agent and an acquiring editor at a publisher is looking for a mailing list and a social media presence is the social proof that your message is resonating with others. And on top of that, it gives you an opportunity to hone your message, to sharpen it, to expand it where you need to. So these are not tasks that we're asking you to do as a checklist. These are actually tasks that help you serve people better with the dream that you have.
Yeah, talking about the different people involved in the process and just the why behind it, right? Like you said, it's not just a checklist. I check all these boxes, I get a book contract. There's so much more that goes into it. And as you know, as an author, a lot of work that goes into doing that and being consistent with it. So when we think about all this information that agents and publishers are looking for, can you share some tips for authors when they're preparing either to send you something in email or they're going to maybe have one of the 15-minute appointments with you or a publisher at a writing conference? I know it's I've never sat down to do it. I think I've tried it like twice and chickened out both times. So I'm really interested to hear this answer of, just when that fear comes over you, it seems like such a short amount of time, but yet you're laying your heart out on the table. And I would just love to hear any tips you have for how authors can prepare for that and maybe ease that anxiety they have going into it.
Well, I have done that. My very first book pitch was in July of 2014. And the night before my book pitch, I discovered that I had chocolate ice cream on the top that I was going to wear. And I was at a conference that was out of state. I had to hop in the car at 7 a.m. the next morning, and I had to find a Walmart. I rushed out the night before and actually bought a new outfit. And I just remember just thinking, I planned so carefully. So for the listeners, I'm going to give you a very quick overview of what that appointment looks like and preface it with this. I would love for you to just go, I need to pitch myself at least 3 or 4 times. Because when you put the pressure on yourself that you're only going to have one pitch, then it feels like your whole life is staked on that one pitch. That's really not fair to yourself. When my kids were all in school and it came time to take the ACT, I purposely told the kids that they were going to take it at least 3 times because I didn't want them to feel like the rest of their lives hinged on them getting it right that first time. And so the same thing goes for you if you're thinking about pitching, that you're going to have in your mentality, I'm going to purposefully pitch 3 times, possibly 4. So when someone comes in for a pitch appointment, I have them sit down. The first thing I do is smile at them and tell them to take a deep breath. And I let them know that this is not going to be for all the marbles. And I want to set that expectation right there. And then I just say, hey, when you're ready, tell me about your book idea. And when you're pitching an agent or an author, the very first thing I suggest you start with is the hook or the unique selling proposition. We're going to get around to a lot of the other information, but that is what helps us to stand in that same space with you in that idea. So if you can't explain your book project in 3 sentences or less, it's going to be hard for us to track with you. And so that's the first thing I'm going to suggest to you. Make sure you can explain it in 3 sentences or less. The next thing is that we're going to ask you about your connection to your audience, which leads into your marketing plan. So this is the space where we want you to tell us about your social media and your mailing list. This is the space we're going to ask you about, hey, how do you connect with people? If you're nonfiction, that's where I want you to tell me about your speaking platform or your podcast or your YouTube channel. But in the process of talking with an agent or an editor, we want to find great ideas. So this is not an adversarial situation where we're just hoping to shoot you down. Remember, we're sitting there all day long. We want the day to be successful as well. We want to find great candidates. So I want you to know that you have someone who is pulling for you because we're looking for great and exciting ideas.
Yeah, just knowing that you are a cheerleader for the author, right? You don't have to get so worked up about it because you really are looking to partner with the author and champion their book with publishers. So I think that's so important to remember. And maybe I'll keep that in mind next time I go to a writing conference.
Very much. I mean, again, I recognize just being on the other side, like you want to throw up. You want to run. You're thinking, I can't think of a word. And I can promise you, even the most curmudgeonly looking agent or acquiring editor who has been sitting there all day long, they want you to be amazing because we want to have great ideas. We want to have great books to work with. We often will offer a suggestion or two. If for some reason it's not quite there yet, we want to offer it. So rejection is not rejection. Rejection is it is not ready and it needs a little more time. The problem I think comes in with us as writers is we want it to be right now. We want to be able to take that next step. We want it to be good as it is. And what we as editors and agents want to say is if it's not ready, give it time to get ready.
And that's so hard to do sometimes, right? Oh gosh, I love what Barb said about how your engaged platform is social proof to publishers that your message is resonating with others. Plus, your platform gives you an opportunity to hone your message, sharpen it, and expand it where you need to. Oh, such good wisdom there. And you know, I love podcasting as a host and guest to grow your author platform, including speaking and growing your email list because it's priceless. And I'm so grateful for you tuning in today. And I want to give a shout out to one of my listeners, Lauren, who left a review of Book Marketing Media saying, Kim makes it feel easy and exciting to market my books. She offers so many great actionable tips to make me feel like I can do this. Oh, thanks, Lauren. And if episodes like this one with Barb are bringing you value as a writer, I hope you'll leave a quick review of the show to let others know it's worth their time to tune in also and learn how to market their books. Thanks again for tuning in. And as always, I'll be there for you next episode to help you reach and serve your readers one podcast at a time. See you then.